Champions aren't built in the spotlight. They are built in the shadows, in silence, long before anyone cheers for them. And what separates a true champion from everyone else is not just talent, not just skill, but the mindset, the way they train their mind before they train their body. You see, before a champion lifts a single weight, runs a single lap, or takes a single shot, they've already won the first battle. And that battle is in the mind. Most people wait until they feel ready. They wait until the opportunity shows up. Then they try to scramble and prepare. Champions don't move like that. They live in a state of mental readiness. They visualize the win before it happens. They condition their minds to believe that success isn't just possible, it's inevitable. They don't leave their confidence to chance. They speak life into themselves daily. They affirm their goals. They rehearse success mentally until it becomes their reality. Champions understand that every great victory is first fought and won in the mind, not on the field. The average person doubts. The average person hesitates. The average person talks themselves out of opportunities before they even begin. But a champion's mind doesn't entertain doubt. It doesn't entertain fear. It doesn't allow negative thoughts to linger. Champions starve their fears and feed their focus. They keep their minds locked in on a mission, no matter how many distractions try to pull them away. When a challenge comes, most people panic. A champion gets calm. They don't react emotionally. They respond strategically because they've trained their mind to stay steady in the storm. That's what separates them. They don't allow circumstances to dictate their state. Whether it's raining, whether they're tired, whether things are going wrong, they show up with the same focus, the same energy, the same discipline, because they understand this truth. Emotions are temporary, but commitment is permanent. Mental strength is something a champion develops daily. It's not something they're born with. They work at it. They wake up early to control their day instead of letting the day control them. They feed their mind with knowledge, with positivity, with power. They listen to truth. They read, they study, they grow. Why? Because they know their thoughts will either carry them or crush them, and they refuse to let weak thinking rob them of strong performance. Let me make something clear. Champions don't train the body for fun. They train it for war. And if the mind isn't right, the body won't follow through. You can't outlift a weak mindset. You can't outrun insecurity. You can't outperform self-doubt. If your mind tells you you're not enough, your body will believe it. That's why a champion attacks the root. They don't just build muscle. They build belief. They don't just build endurance. They build identity. They tell themselves who they are before the world tells them who they're not. And here's what most people miss. The mind leads and the body obeys. If your mind is lazy, your body will be lazy. If your mind is sharp, your body will respond. That's why before a championship fight, before a record-breaking performance, before a life-changing speech, the champion gets locked in mentally. They enter the zone, not by accident, but by training. They've conditioned their thoughts to align with their goals. They don't let fear dictate the outcome. They let preparation dictate the outcome. It's easy to think success comes from what you do. But a champion knows it starts with what you believe. If you believe you're a champion, your actions will follow. If you believe you're worthy, your energy will show it. If you believe you're unstoppable, you'll push when others quit. That's why the battle is in the mind. And that's why most people lose, because they never learn to conquer themselves. The world is noisy. It's full of critics, opinions, haters, and distractions. But a champion shuts all of that out. They go inward. They listen to their purpose. They stay aligned with their vision. They talk to themselves more than they listen to others. And the voice they choose to listen to is the one that says, I can, I will, I must. Even when no one is clapping, a champion claps for themselves. Even when no one believes in them, a champion believes in themselves. And even when they fall, they don't say, I failed. They say, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm coming back stronger. Because the mindset of a champion is not about perfection. It's about resilience. It's about mental toughness. It's about waking up every single day with the fire to fight, the discipline to show up, and the vision to see the win before it ever happens. Because before the trophy, before the records, before the applause, the champion was winning in silence, in solitude, in the shadow, with nothing but belief and discipline. That's the mindset of a true champion. Motivation is temporary, comes and goes like a wave. One moment it lifts you, the next moment it disappears. That's why champions don't depend on motivation. They're driven by something deeper, something unshakable, something that doesn't fade just because they had a bad day or things didn't go their way. That something is called drive. And drive is what makes a champion unstoppable. Motivation is a feeling, drive is a decision. Anyone can feel motivated when things are going right, when they're winning, when the results are visible. But what happens when things get hard? What happens when you're tired? What happens when you're tired, broke, hurt, or stuck in a season when nothing seems to work? That's when the difference shows up. The person who depends on motivation stops. But the one who's driven, they keep going. They show up when there's no applause. They grind when no one's watching. They push even when they don't feel like it. Because they made a commitment, not based on feelings, but based on purpose. A champion wakes up before the sun because the goal is bigger than their comfort. They sacrifice sleep, comfort, and distractions because they've locked in on something most people won't understand. Drive isn't glamorous. It doesn't always look exciting. It's lonely. It's gritty. It's repetitive. But it produces results that motivation never could. The person with drive doesn't need someone to tell them to keep going. They don't need someone cheering for them or giving them a pat on the back. Their reason why is bigger than any excuse they can make. Drive is built on discipline. Motivation waits for inspiration. Drive shows up regardless of inspiration. It's rooted in daily habits, not emotional highs. That's why the driven wake up early. That's why they hit the gym when it's cold. That's why they study when others sleep. Because they understand the truth. Success isn't about what you do when you feel good. It's about what you do when you don't. Champions don't let how they feel determine what they do. They've trained their minds to move in alignment with their goals. Even when they're exhausted, they execute. Even when they fail, they keep showing up. They've learned how to flip the switch from emotion to execution. That's the mark of a driven person. They don't chase a feeling. They chase greatness. And greatness doesn't come to those who wait until they feel like it. It comes to those who act with purpose, day in and day out. People ask, how do you stay so consistent? The answer is simple. They're not chasing comfort, they're chasing growth. Comfort makes you soft, drive makes you sharp. Comfort makes you settle, drive makes you stretch. Champions are not interested in staying the same. They are addicted to progress. They understand that the real win is not in the outcome. It's in the process. That's why they fall in love with the grind, not just the goal. Because they know the grind is where the growth happens. You can tell someone who's driven from the way they walk, talk, and carry themselves. There's an edge to them, a fire, a quiet intensity. You won't hear them complain. You won't hear them make excuses. You'll see them execute. You'll see them move with urgency. You'll see them demand more from themselves than anyone else ever could. Because they have standards. And those standards are non-negotiable. They're not looking for the easiest route. They're looking for the path that builds character. They don't just want to achieve the goal. They want to become the kind of person who can handle the goal. That's what drive does. Transforms you. It doesn't just get you results, it builds resilience. It doesn't just change your habits. It changes your identity. Driven people don't just win once. They build a life that wins over and over again. This is why a champion never quits. Because quitting isn't even an option in their mind. They've made up their mind. They're going to keep going. They're going to keep pushing. They're going to keep building no matter how long it takes. The outcome is inevitable because the effort is relentless. And while others take breaks, while others slow down, while others back off, the driven stay locked in. You have to decide what you want more. Your comfort, your calling. Your calling. You can't have both. You have to decide if you want to feel good today or be great for a lifetime. Driven people choose greatness. They choose the path that stretches them. They choose the pain of growth over the ease of mediocrity. And that choice, made over and over again, is what separates champions from everyone else. At the end of the day, motivation might get you started, but it's drive that will keep you going when everything in you wants to quit. So don't chase hype. Don't wait for inspiration. Build discipline. Find your reason, commit to the process, and let drive take you places motivation never could. Because when you're truly driven, nothing and no one can stop you. The grind is where champions are made, not in the spotlight, not on the stage, and not under the lights, but in the unseen hours when no one's watching and no one's cheering. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. They want the reward without the work. They want the applause without the agony. But the champion loves the grind. The champion doesn't just accept it. They embrace it because they understand that the grind is the price of greatness. The grind isn't sexy. It's not Instagrammable. It's not for show. It's sweat. It's repetition. It's early mornings and late nights. It's pushing through soreness, pushing through fatigue, pushing through every voice in your head that says you've done enough. Champions silence that voice. They know enough is the language of mediocrity. They're not chasing average. They're chasing excellence, and excellence lives in the grind. People love the idea of success, but they hate what it costs. That's why few people ever reach their full potential, because the grind asks more of you than you want to give. It demands sacrifice. It takes time. It's lonely. You have to walk away from parties. You have to say no to comfort. You have to trade short-term pleasure for long-term purpose. But the champion does it willingly because their dream means more to them than the moment. You don't become elite by doing what's easy. You become elite by doing what others won't. Champions do the reps when they don't feel like it. They study the film when they're tired. They show up on the days most people quit because they know something most don't. The grind isn't punishment, it's preparation. Every drop of sweat, every moment of pain, every ounce of effort is preparing them for the moment when everything is on the line. And when that moment comes, they're ready. Not because of luck, but because they paid the price. The grind builds something deeper than muscle. It builds mindset. When you grind day after day, you develop a mental toughness that can't be taught. It must be earned. You learn how to keep moving even when it hurts. You learn how to push through the wall when your body says stop. You learn how to perform when the pressure is high and the odds are stacked. That kind of grit only comes from the grind. There are no shortcuts in this game. No cheat codes, no magic tricks, just hard work, discipline, and consistency. And that's why champions don't run from the grind, they respect it. They honor the process because they understand that what they become in the grind is more important than what they achieve. The grind molds them, it sharpens them. It reveals who they really are. Anyone can put in work for a week. Anyone can stay committed when things are easy. But the grind will test you, it will break you down. Stretch you, strip you of excuses, and force you to choose. Give up or grow up. Champions choose growth every time. They don't complain. They don't look for a way out. They dig deeper. They fight harder. Because they know every struggle in the grind is a stepping stone toward greatness. Champions understand that repetition is the mother of mastery. They don't get bored with basics. They don't get lazy with the fundamentals. They show up and execute the same routines, the same drills, the same habits over and over and over again. Because they know success isn't about doing something new. It's about doing what works with excellence every single time. There will be days when nothing seems to be working. Days when your progress feels invisible. Days when you question if it's worth it. But those are the days that separate the real from the fake, the driven from the casual, the committed from the curious. Because the champion keeps grinding through the silence, through the setbacks, through the doubts, knowing that everything they're doing is building something powerful. The grind teaches you patience. It humbles you. It reminds you that nothing great comes easy. It reveals your limits, then dares you to surpass them. And the champion rises to that challenge. They don't fear the grind. They feed off it. They understand that the grind doesn't just lead to success, it creates it. And when others quit, when others retreat, when others look for a way around the hard work, the champion digs in even deeper. You have to fall in love with the process, not just the prize. Because the prize comes and goes, but the process builds character that lasts forever. That's why champions don't chase the trophy. They chase growth. They know the real reward is who they become in the pursuit. Every struggle, every failure, every obstacle is shaping them into something stronger. So if you want to be great, you better learn to love the grind, not tolerate it, not endure it, love it, wake up hungry, stay committed, push past comfort, outwork everyone around you. Champions aren't focused on today's applause. They're focused on tomorrow's legacy. While most people chase instant results, immediate recognition, and quick wins, champions think long term. They understand that success isn't built in a day, it's built over time. Every step, every sacrifice, every delay is part of a bigger picture. that most can't see. That's why champions don't rush the process. They respect it. They play the long game. Most people want results now. They want to train for a week and see a transformation. They want to start a business and be a millionaire overnight. But that mindset leads to burnout. It leads to shortcuts, frustration, and eventually quitting. Champions don't fall for that trap. They don't expect the reward today. They put in the work today, knowing the reward may not come for months, even years. They trust that what they're building is worth the wait. The long game is where true mastery lives. You can be good with short-term effort, but greatness requires consistency over time. It's the boring work that makes you better. It's the small habits, the daily disciplines, the little decisions repeated again and again that shape champions. They know that the real results come from compounding effort. Just like drops of water eventually carve a canyon, their work adds up, slowly, steadily, silently, until the breakthrough finally arrives. Champions have patience, but patience because they're not driven by ego. They're driven by purpose. They're not trying to prove something today. They're building something that will last. And because their purpose is greater than their need for instant results, they can wait. They can keep pushing even when no one notices. They can keep grinding even when the progress is invisible. They're not chasing a moment. They're creating a movement. The long game requires sacrifice. It means saying no to things that feel good now in favor of things that will feel great later. It means giving up nights out so you can work on your craft. It means training when your body is sore, studying when your brain is tired, investing time and energy into something that hasn't paid off yet, but will. That's what separates those who want it from those who truly live for it. Champions don't just have goals. They have a vision. And that vision is big. It's too big to be accomplished in a week, a month, or even a year. So they reverse engineer the dream and break it into small steps. They focus on executing those steps day after day. And while others get frustrated because they don't see results fast enough, champions stay the course. Because they know the journey is shaping them just as much as the destination. They don't waste time comparing their progress to others. They know everyone's journey is different. Or they don't get distracted by someone else's success. They clap for others, stay in their lane, and keep moving forward. Because their race isn't about speed. It's about speed. It's about endurance. They understand that it's not about how fast you go, but how far you're willing to go. And they're willing to go all the way, no matter how long it takes. The long game also teaches humility. You don't get to skip levels. You don't get to fast track the grind. You have to earn every inch. That's why champions value growth over glory. They're not addicted to outcome. They're addicted to becoming. And that mindset is what makes them dangerous. Because when everyone else gets tired, discouraged, or distracted, the champion keeps showing up. They're not moved by setbacks. They understand that failure is part of the process. Champions don't just set goals. They live them. There's no plan B, no backup, no halfway commitment. When a champion says they're going to do something, it's done in their mind before it's done in reality. They operate with laser-sharp focus, unshakable discipline, and total commitment. That's the mindset it takes to reach the top. That's the mindset of someone who understands that to win at the highest level, you must be all. Too many people treat their goals like suggestions. They say they want success, but they're not willing to fully commit. They'll work when it's convenient. They'll work when it's convenient. They'll grind when it's comfortable. But when the pain hits or the process slows down, they step back. Champions don't do that. Champions burn the boats. They remove the safety net. They take quitting off the table completely. Because the moment you give yourself a way out, your mind will start looking for one the second things get tough. When a champion sets a goal, they back it up with a decision. A real decision. Not one based on feelings or hype, but a decision rooted in purpose. That goal becomes their mission. Their reason for waking up early. Their reason for saying no to distractions. Their reason for staying locked in while everyone else is drifting. They don't let circumstances control their effort. Whether it's raining, snowing, or the world is falling apart, they stay locked in because the goal is not optional. It's necessary. Discipline is the fuel that keeps them going. Champions don't wait until they feel like it. They move with purpose even when they're tired, unmotivated, or discouraged. They know every week, every hour, every task done with discipline is a deposit into their future. And they keep depositing day in, day out until their results match their vision. That's not luck, that's consistency. That's commitment. There's a level of intensity that comes when you know there's no turning back. When you've committed to the point that failure isn't an option. That intensity becomes your edge. It sharpens your focus. It eliminates the noise. You stop entertaining things that don't align with your vision. Stop wasting time, energy, and attention on anything that doesn't move you forward. Champions live with intention. Every decision, every action, every thought is directed toward the goal. They understand that commitment isn't a one-time event. It's a daily decision. It's waking up and deciding all over again that the dream is worth the fight. Even when you're sore, even when you're doubting, even when the results haven't shown up yet. Champions recommit every day. They put their vision in front of them. They remind themselves why they started, and they grind like their life depends on it, because to them, it does. Commitment also means being honest with yourself. Champions don't make excuses. They don't sugarcoat their performance. If they fall short, they own it. They adjust. They tighten their routine. They raise their standards. That honesty creates growth. That growth creates results. That's the loop champions live. Not comfort, but correction. Not convenience, but conviction. A champion's commitment is visible. You can see it in their body language. You can hear it in their voice. You can feel it when they walk in the room. They carry themselves differently because they know they're working towards something bigger than themselves. And they don't need outside validation to stay committed. Their commitment is internal. It's driven by the vision, not by applause. People ask, how do you stay so motivated? The truth is, champions aren't always motivated. They're always committed. Always committed. Motivation is seasonal. Commitment is constant. Motivation gets you started. Commitment keeps you going. Champions build systems, routines, and habits that keep them locked in even on the days they don't feel it. That's the separator. That's what the world doesn't see. The relentless execution when no one's clapping. The behind-the-scenes grind when no one's posting about it. There's power in going all in. When you commit fully, you stop hesitating. You stop second-guessing. You stop asking, oh, what if and start saying, I will. That energy shifts everything. Your focus sharpens, your work ethic intensifies, your resilience deepens. Because when you're all in, you find a way. When plan A fails, you build a better plan A. There was no plan B, only a better version of the original dream, fought for with more wisdom, more fire, and more hunger. That's the champion's mindset. It's not about dipping your toes in. It's about diving head first, knowing there's no turning back. You either win or you learn, but you never quit. You adjust, you evolve. You grow stronger. That's the power of full commitment. So if you want to succeed at the highest level, you have to decide, not wish, not hope, but decide that you're all in. Not half when it's easy. Every day, no matter what.